in practice.
All right, young scholars. So, what we're going to do today is give a little introduction to the course, a little review of some Java concepts that will help you throughout the duration of this course. On Monday, we'll go over some more basic Java concepts. Ideally, you would have learned in Programming 1 prior to this course, hopefully. And then next Wednesday, we'll jump into an introduction of what we're going to be doing for the class using Android Studio. All right, so you'll notice hopefully that my screen is currently shared, that all of this information was in last week's folder. Like I said in the emails, they didn't set up my account for the university until about 5 minutes before we were supposed to have class. So I wasn't going to rush everybody with that. And so first, I'm going to touch on the course syllabus for everyone. So for the first couple weeks here, because I have the basic version of Zoom, we're just going to meet during a 40-minute block on Mondays and Wednesdays, because that is the longest amount of time they will allow with the free version. Once we get later in the semester and start to go into more of the advanced work, I will be holding longer sessions, but I will keep you posted once we get into that. So there's no textbook for the course. You're going to be graded on 6 homework assignments, 3 minor apps, and a group project. So hopefully, if you did the introduction post, you've already got one of the homework assignments out of the way. The other 5 homework assignments are very, very basic. Basically, just asking you for your opinion on specifics regarding your opinions, more or less, on apps. You know, one of the homeworks is what is your favorite app and why? So just give like a 3-sentence response to those other 5 homeworks, and you should be good to go. They're all open and available for you to do online right now on Blackboard. So if you so choose, you could literally complete all 5 of them right now, today, if that's what you so choose. So those 6 combined will be worth 18% of the final grade. So in essence, 3% each. Those of you that have already done the introduction post, you already are that much closer to an A for the class. So then there's going to be 3 mini apps worth 10% of the grade each. All these are is I'm going to ask you to make a minor change here and there to 3 of the applications. Throughout the course, as we go on, basically what we're going to do each week is create our app based on examples that I provide you. I believe there's 8 of them total that we'll walk through together over the course of the weeks of the class. And for 3 of them, I'll say, oh, just make a minor change here. So for example, there's a Canon game, and all I ask you to do for that mini app is to, change the colors used for the cannonballs. And you would go do that and submit that. Then there's a group project. So there's 9 young scholars in this class. Probably best to have 3 groups of 3. Each of you work together. And next Monday, I'll go through the rubric of how that will be assessed. because you're going to have the app itself and then give a presentation on it in the last couple of weeks of class. So I don't accept late work. Keep that in mind unless there's extreme circumstances. You have a death in the family, send me the obituary link. You had a medical issue, send me the doctor's note. Otherwise, everything will be due Sunday night, 11:59 on Blackboard. It will be set up to close. So during the week of Thanksgiving, we won't meet. I've never had, in my years teaching, anybody actually show up during those classes the week of Thanksgiving. So no class Monday. The college is probably closed Wednesday. So free to go. So the week of the 4th and 6th, there will be the group presentations for that group app you're going to make. So if we can get all three, let's say there's 3 groups of 3, if we get all 3 groups done on the 4th, then there would be no meeting on the 6th. The week before, November 27th and 29th, you guys will meet as your groups. If you want, I'll be available on Zoom to meet with you guys if you need to. But like I said, for today, we're going to go over some basic information about the course, some basic Java concepts. Next Monday, we'll do that as well. And then next Wednesday, I'll quickly go through the introduction to the Android app, or Android Studio, if you will. And then you'll notice basically every other class, we're just going to work on an application example to show you guys how that works. So for example, the mini app number 1, you would modify the welcome app. Mini app number 2, you would modify the Canon game app. And app number 3, you'd modify the Twitter searches app. So like I said, with the homework assignments, if you've already done homework assignment 1, the intro post, the other 5 are very basic, kind of just, hey, what do you think about this app? What's your favorite app? And like I said, you literally could do all 5 of them today if you so choose. Just come up with like a 3-sentence response to that. So with all of this work, do it on your own except the group project. You will work with your group. Otherwise, everything is expected to be completed and submitted on your own. It would be pretty obvious if you copied each other for the homework assignments, because obviously you're not all going to have the same app. But the idea of those other 5 homework assignments is to get you and your group thinking, what kind of app do you want to make? Do you want to make something similar to something you like? Do you want to improve upon something that you've seen? Etc. So you'll also see in last week's folder, there is a document called Before You Begin. I would like you guys to download before the end of the week the Android Studio, this first link here, and the Java SE Development Kit, which requires you to create an account with Oracle. This middle link will tell you which one you have to download based on the computer you have. Now, do you all have your own individual PCs to do this on, or would you have to go somewhere on campus to create your apps using Android Studio as you need to?
I have my own PC and my laptop. I can do that.
Okay. What if the downloads don't work and you have an Apple computer? Well, Android is only going to work on a PC because Apple computers run iOS, which is a completely different operating system. So I would double check, and I'll double check for this as well, to see if there is a on-campus lab that has Android Studio already installed. And for your group, make sure that you have your two others, let's say we're all going to agree that we make 3 groups of 3. Make sure your other 2 group members have a PC that runs Android Studio. Because like I said, the 3 basic mini apps are just going to be making small minor modifications to apps we create in class. And I'll provide all the source code and specifically,
Hi, Professor.
yes,
I didn't want to interrupt, but I also have a Mac, but it runs Android Studio for me.
okay. So it may just be an issue with downloading. Um, like I said, that's middle link has the system requirements. So double check there's an 86-bit for the Java SE development kit, and there's also a 64. So it may not download if you download the wrong development kit. But again, like I said, that's why I'd like you all to work on that this weekend. So if there's any issues, we can address them on Monday. Okay, next you'll also see in last week's folder that I posted a number of PowerPoints. A lot of this, hopefully you were taught in Programming 1. Other aspects of it, like inheritance, you may learn in Programming 2. But I will go over that on Monday when we meet again. So there's one PowerPoint that's listed as primitive types here. The basic takeaways you should have from this second slide is to know what a Boolean is, true or false, to know what a char character is, to know what an integer is. I would assume, hopefully, if you had a professor who's any good, taught you that during Programming 1. Next, we have the operator precedence chart, another slide there. I want to point out on slide 2, the plus plus, the minus minus for the decrement and increment iterators. I'll give you an example of these momentarily. Then we have an introduction to Java applications slideshow. And all of these, like I said, are in last week's folder. I just want to point out some of these basic things that hopefully you learn in Programming 1. So you've all seen the basic, usually it's hello world, but in this instance, it's welcome to Java programming. You create your class, you create your method. And here's another example I created here. I created a class hello world with the method to output greetings, young scholars. And when I run it, it outputs what we have in our print line here, greetings, young scholars. So I'm not sure what IDE you guys would prefer to use, but I tend to use this online Java compiler I have. If you'd like, I would post the, actually I'll do it right now. Okay. So this is just, like I said, the Java compiler right online that I tend to use. You're free to use it as you so choose. You can also use Dr. Java, BlueJ, Eclipse, whatever you've used before. Perfectly fine with me. And this whole slideshow here with the introduction to Java applications goes through class declaration, how you set up the name for them, because Java is case sensitive, where you set up your braces, how you set up your lines of code, how you define methods. Did anybody not learn this in Programming 1? I believe Programming 1 was a prereq for the course. So you've all seen this before, right? Creating classes, creating methods. Brian, did you see this in Programming 1?
Yes, I did see it in programming.
Okay. So again, all of this is examples that hopefully you saw in Programming 1. In this example, instead of printing everything on one line, we use the /n to make sure that each word is on a different line. So this is an obvious question, but what are these // And then main method begins execution of Java application. What is that? Hopefully,
It's a comment. It's a
Yep.
comment.
Yeah.
so when you create your program, or your group app, ideally, I would like to have some kind of comments within there demonstrating who did which section. So let's say it's pronounced Kai, right? Your nickname?
Yeah, it is.
So let's say Kai, Dwayne, and Felix work together as one group. You know, they would have a comment here. This is what Kai, this is the section Kai did. Then I'd scroll down a little and I would say, this is the section Dwayne did, etc. And simply put that in as comments, just so I know that everybody did their own specific part. And like I said, this whole slide has examples that hopefully you guys learned in Programming 1. You all had to import a Java class in Programming 1 at some point, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So in this example, we're using the class scanner to input two numbers to create a sum. So in this example, the user inputted 45 and 72, and the sum was displayed as 117. Adding number 1, number 2. In our method above, we had to set all of them as integers in order for that to compute properly. And here's a basic explanation of what you're doing when you're importing classes or packages from the Java API. And that's why I've set this course up in such a way where we're walking through applications together each week so we can build upon new knowledge, hopefully, week over week. And this slideshow also gives you some observations and suggestions, such as good programming practice. By convention, variable name identifiers begin with a lowercase letter, and every word in the name after the first word begins with a capital. It's entirely up to you. Whatever you're comfortable with from Programming 1 is perfectly fine with me. Most of these examples are adding integers together using arithmetic, which I think is okay since those are basic functions: addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, remainder. Did any of you use the math class in Programming 1?
Briefly, for a little bit.
Okay. So you can also do subscript, superscript, squares, square rooting with the math class. So did you see conditions, if statements, else statements in Programming 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how all of them work? You know the difference? Let's see, Chris, do you know the difference between an if and an if else?
Can you repeat that, please?
Do you know what the difference between an if statement and an if else statement is?
Not really.
Okay, so for an if statement, it only happens while that condition is met. So if you're hungry, eat food. Make sense? Whereas
Yes.
an if else statement is if something happens, we do something. Otherwise, we do something else.
Yes. All right. I got you.
So let's say if you're hungry for cheeseburgers,
I know.
you go get McDonald's, let's say.
Uh,
If you're hungry for cheeseburgers and McDonald's is closed,
you get something else?
you use the else. You go to some other burger restaurant.
Okay.
So that's the most basic way of describing. Yes, so Dwayne, yes, technically an if else could be considered binary, 1 or 0. So the other slideshow I want to touch on today is an introduction to classes, objects, methods, and strings. Like I said, most of this, hopefully, if not all of it, you saw previously in Programming 1. It goes over how you would set up your method. In this example, it's a simple display message. Welcome to the gradebook. That is your method inside your gradebook class. Obviously, these are basic examples with one method inside of one class. Obviously, when we get into our apps, they're going to be more than one method. You all know that the arguments used within a method are also called parameters, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So in this example here, within the display message method, the string course name is what? What is that called? It just
Is that a parameter?
That's the argument for the method or parameter for the display message method. Just like you would have in your scanner function. Sometimes you may not need an argument. Hopefully you've seen that before as well in these two examples. So here we're creating a what? What is my gradebook here? Here we're creating a class. Here we're creating a method. What is gradebook here? Is that a class, a method, or something else? Kesney, do you know? Did you see this in Programming 1?
Yeah. Let me see the grade book one more time, please.
So above here, we're creating our class,
Okay, yeah, it's a class.
then our method,
You're calling the grade book and then to display it, right?
right? Well, what is it called specifically? The way we're using it here.
Objective oriented?
Object, yep.
Mhm.
So in this instance, we're using my gradebook as an object. See below, we're creating the object and passing a string using the display message, which, as we created above here, is our method. So I will put review videos up in this week's folder for you guys, just like I did for my Programming 2 class. How long ago did all of you have Programming 1? In the spring, last fall?
Last fall.
2 years ago.
As I pointed out, there are other classes or packages that you will import. You were all shown the difference between local variables and instant variables, hopefully. Here we have an instance variable, private string course name. It's an instance variable that's set up as a string. You would input the course name for the gradebook class. Hopefully you were taught this as well, that private variables and methods are only accessible to the methods of the class in which they are declared. So in this instance here, the string course name would only be usable within the public class gradebook. And since the method set course name and the method get course name are both within that, they would also be able to use that instance variable. In this example, we're importing the scanner class, probably because we are going to accept input from a user. In this example, we're getting the course name from the user, Introduction to Java Programming, and then it prints out Welcome to the Gradebook for Introduction to Java Programming. As I went through before, there are certain primitive types you should know: Boolean, char, int. There are also reference types. You've all seen this in Programming 1.2, hopefully.
Yes, we have.
So who knows the difference between a float and a double? So when I always explain float, I try to explain it in like money, like $3.17. Whereas a double, I try to explain in like pi, like 3.14, however many additional numbers there are after that. Usually you want to use a float when you have a decimal because a double takes up more computing cycles. And there's an example there. So in this case, we have balance set as a double. I would probably set it as a float. But in this instance, they're setting it as a double because, you know, in case there's a $1 million balance or a $12 million balance, just to accommodate for all those possible numbers. And like I said, when you're submitting your group project at the end, ideally I'd like you to have comments within them indicating who's done which section of the program. So I showed you this earlier, an example class I created where I'm simply outputting greetings young scholars. But here I have another example. So based on the code here and the output on the right-hand side, who hasn't been called on yet? Kai, tell me what's going on in this program here, based on the code and what you see as the output.
It's been a while since I did this, so I need a refresher.
Okay. Who wants to help him? What is this first line here? Is that a class, a method, an object?
The class.
That's a class. Then on line 3, we have our method. Then on line 5, we're setting an integer max rows to be 10. Then we're having a for.
For loop.
Yep. What is the for loop doing, Dwayne?
It's setting the max rows. You can't go over the max rows.
Yep.
You gotta
So
go
it's setting
equal.
an integer row equal to 1, starts it at 1, As long as it's less than 10, keep adding
Alright.
the row. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then a second for loop is going on where it prints out a star for every row. And it keeps going until it hits 10 because it's compatible with row. So in the output, you have 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, 6 star, 7 star, 8 star, 9 star, 10 star. Why doesn't it print out 11?
That's the max row.
Yep, we have our max rows set to 10. So row is less than or equal to 10. It's only going to go 10 times. How else could we have set this up? What other method?
We could use the if method.
Yep,
If-
we could have gone if else. If max rows is less than 10, row plus plus, else, we would have a stop function. All right, so like I said, we'll go through some more basics on Monday. And then Wednesday, we'll go through an introduction to Android. And then starting the week of the 18th, we'll get started in our Android Studio apps and start building these examples so we get accustomed to using Android Studio. So like I said, go ahead and make sure that you downloaded Android Studio. Try and do it by this weekend, even though we won't start with it until the 18th, just so, like I said, we can address any issues you may have had with it. And if you have not completed the intro post assignment 1, make sure you get that done. And like I said, the other 5 homework assignments are simple. Hey, what's your favorite app? And, what's the reason it's your favorite app? So you're more than welcome to start on those, complete them at any point you'd like. Like I said, a simple 3-sentence response is more than fine. All right, so I will see all of you next Monday. I'll send out a Zoom link, as I did today, to the email, and also post it on Blackboard. And I will post this recording for all of you to look back through. Like I said, review those PowerPoints. Let me know if you have any specific questions, and I'll go through them on Monday. All right.